What's up, everybody? I'm B-True, and today I want to bring you my Demon Hunter build for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls after patch 2.0.5. Like I said in my previous videos, a lot of things have changed since patch 2.0.5. The Demon Hunter in particular got a lot of changes to his passives, including some that were pretty popular, so now you have to kind of change it up a little bit, revisit what's going on there. So first off, I'm going to bring you in here to the skills. And first off, we have for our Hatred Generator, we have Entangling Shot with Justice is Served. Now, the Justice is Served rune increases the Hatred Generator to 6 and makes the damage fire. That's important because this is a fire-based build, and I'll go over that in a second. But the big point here is to get Hatred back as quick as possible. Now, there are some people who, with some things I'm going to talk about later, don't even use a primary, and I'll tell you how you can do that. But first I want to go through the skills here before I get into gear. This is the main portion of damage that we're going to do. This is Cluster Arrow loaded for Bear. Now, loaded for Bear makes the damage fire, and that's, once again, like I said, this is a fire build, so the plus fire damage is going to be very important here. But you can see here it does 770% weapon damage as on impact, and then it releases 4 grenades that each explode for 220% weapon damage. So this does a ton of AoE as well as single target damage. And it costs a lot of hatred, which is one of the things that we have to focus on with this build, is reducing the hatred cost and getting our hatred up. But this is the main portion of damage, and this is the main skill that you're going to be spamming. Next we have Preparation Punishment. Now with the Punishment rune, this means that you can spend 25 discipline to restore 75 hatred. This is very important because, as you can see here, with your cluster arrow skill, you can dump your hatred bar very, very fast. So then you cast Preparation Punishment and you get a lot of it back. You're able to fire your cluster arrow a couple more times. Depending on how much discipline you have with resource costs and reduction and everything that you can get, you can use this preparation a couple of times because there is no cooldown on it, which is another important thing for this build. But next we have Vengeance with Seethe. Now, Vengeance increases your damage by a ton because of the side guns and the homing rockets that come with it here. You can see you gain 4 additional piercing shots for 60 weapon damage, homing rockets that do 40% weapon damage. It's just a ton of extra damage that you get. But the big thing here with Seethe is you gain 10 hatred per second, which is more than tripling the normal amount that you get. Normally you have 4 hatred per second. With this you're going to have 14 if you have nothing else on top of it. So this is very important, as you can see here. Once again, like I said, once you dump this hatred bar, you pop that, you can see how fast this is coming back now. Not only that, but you can see all the extra projectiles that are flying around dealing damage for you. So this is a very important skill. Like I said, it does a ton of damage, gives you a bunch of hatred back, and overall is going to be a very effective way of killing the elites. Next we have Vault Tumble, and I have Tumble because after using Vault, your next Vault within 6 seconds has a discipline cost reduced by 50%. That means you can spam it a little bit quicker, and you can cast Vault twice, and it's only going to cost you 12 discipline. This is really only used to get out of dangerous situations. And then finally we have the Companion with Wolf Companion. Now we have Wolf Companion because when you activate it, this increases you and your allies' damage by 30% for 10 seconds. 30% increased damage is a ton of damage, and it lasts for 10 seconds, which is a pretty decent amount of time to have that kind of increased damage. So this, with Vengeance and Cluster Arrow loaded for Bear, equals a ton of damage to Elite and Champion packs. So now for the passives. Like I said, a lot of these has changed. So we're going to go down here. First we have Ambush. Now you deal an additional 40% damage to enemies above 75% health. So like I said, that 40% is going to be a ton of extra damage. But this skill can really be swapped out for a lot of things. Really, you can use Single Out if you plan on going up against like a lot of single targets, which isn't really good for Rift because most of the time you're fighting clusters of enemies. You can go for Perfectionist to decrease the amount of discipline that you use with your skills. You can go for Ballistics because your rockets that you shoot out with Vengeance will gain bonus damage from there. It'll double them. You could use steady aim, although that's a little difficult to use because you're going to be moving very fast with this build, and a lot of times in rifts, monsters are able to get up on you pretty fast, so I wouldn't recommend steady aim. But next we got Blood Vengeance, and this is very important because health globes will, first off, it increases your hatred by 25, and then additionally, you gain 30 hatred and 3 discipline whenever you're healed by a health globe. So this is a way to get hatred back very quickly for you to spam your cluster arrow more times. Next we have Archery, and this gives you the bonus based on what you use. I right now use a hand crossbow. When I find another good one, I'm going to use 2 hand crossbows at the same time. That gives you a ton of extra critical hit damage with the gems in them, plus this will give you 5% crit chance and 1 hatred per second. Finally, we have Night Stalker, where critical hits have a chance to restore 1 discipline. This is a way to get discipline back quickly so that you can spam your preparation punishment more to just keep regenerating your hatred. And altogether, this is a build that basically focuses on getting you back hatred as fast as possible for your cluster arrow. So now we're going to go to gear. And gear is very important for this build because it can really change how effective you are with this. Now, the first thing that I have here that is extremely important, and I happen to get a tremendous roll on my very first time here, is Reaper's Wraps. And, I mean, obviously, the normal skills you can see here, fire skills deal 20% more damage. That's a perfect roll. Near perfect roll with dexterity. Rerolled crit chance got 6%. Those are great stats. But the biggest thing here for your Reaper's Wraps, health globes restore 29% of your primary resource. So now, with your Blood Vengeance passive, you're getting 30 hatred plus 29% of your primary resource with every single health globe. And that scales off of how much hatred you have. So the more hatred you have, the more you get back from Reaper's Wraps. So you're getting 1 health globe almost fills up your hatred if it's completely empty with the Reaper's Wraps and that passive. So Reaper's Wraps are absolutely necessary for this build because of what it focuses on and how hatred intensive it is. The next biggest thing that you want to have that I do not have is the Cinder Coat. And that's the chest armor right there. The reason that you want the Cinder Coat is because it increases your fire skill damage, which the Cinder Coat is the only chest armor in the game that it does this. Is a specific legendary stat for that item. And obviously the more damage you're doing with your fire skills, which both of these are fire, that's good. But also it reduces the resource cost of fire skills by, I think it can roll up to 30%. It's around 25-30% based on what you roll. So reduce it by 30%. Okay, so 1/3 of this 40 hatred is reduced by 1 item. And then with the other resource reduction that you can have, that can really reduce the cost of this from 40 down to, you can get it pretty low, somewhere around 20 or 15, which obviously could almost triple the amount of cluster arrows you could spam before needing to use preparation or getting health globes. Finally, another item that I'm trying to farm right now is the Pride's Fall helmet. Now you get this from Act 3 bounties. I just haven't really taken enough time to do them yet to get this item. But the Pride's Fall, what it does is after not taking damage for 5 seconds, it reduces your resource cost. But once again, I think it's somewhere around 20-25%. So again, you're getting a ton of resource cost reduction to be able to spam your cluster arrow a bunch more times. So those 3 items are absolutely necessary to maximize this build and to make it as efficient as possible. Other than that, you really just want to focus on plus fire skill damage. As you can see here, I also have it on my amulet. Obviously, crit chance and crit damage. You can see here, I don't have any healing. Now, it's not necessary, depending on how well you are at dodging attacks and enemies. It can't hurt, but with a Demon Hunter, you shouldn't be getting hit very often. You should be stutter stepping and vaulting around whenever you have you're in a dangerous situation. So I wouldn't focus too much on the healing. It's really about your damage and your toughness. And also, don't worry too much about your sheet damage, because with the additional fire skill damage that you can get on items, as well as once you get it on your chest beast with the Cinder Coat, you're going to be doing a ton of extra damage that isn't accounted for. So don't worry too much about that. Now for my Paragon points, obviously hatred is extremely valuable with this build. So you can see here I have an additional 22.5 hatred, which is how I have 172 hatred. This is very important. You want to have as much as possible so you can continue to spam your cluster arrow. Offense, I have critical hit damage. When I get my second crossbow with the gem to increase my crit hit damage, I'm going to change this to critical hit chance, just to try to have as much of that as possible, because I'll already have somewhere around 500% critical hit damage. Next, I have everything into resist all, just to kind of get you out of those scenarios where you're getting hit by elemental damage from elites and champions. This reduces a lot of your damage if you have a high resist all, so I feel that's a lot more important than any of these other things. You can also start putting them into life percent if you need more life. And then finally, obviously, resource cost reduction. You want to have the lowest resource cost possible, just so, like I said, once again, I know I'm pounding on this idea, but you want to be able to spam your cluster arrow as many times as possible, so you need as much resource cost reduction as you can. Alright, so I've gone through about as much as I can with this build. I've gone through skills, passives, gear, ideas, everything that I really can here. So now I'm going to show you guys some gameplay now. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with my future Reaper of Souls news. Please like the video if you found it helpful. Please let me know what you guys think about this build. I want to know what you guys think, what you guys use, anything else you would change with this build, or any suggestions, just let me know. Leave a comment down below. And I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay that I'm about to show you. I'm going to be quiet so you guys can just pay attention and watch how the build's played. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.
You won't survive that. Hatred is too low.